Fatherhood for the Rest of Us with Brandon Handley. Because you're already great at everything else, why not fatherhood too?
Hey there, and welcome to Fatherhood for the Rest of Us. This is Brandon Handley. I am the creator and founder of Fatherhood for the Rest of Us. I want to say thank you for choosing to spend your time with me today on Fatherhood for the Rest of Us. I also want to just encourage you, if you could, to go over to the podcast on iTunes, download it, subscribe to it, and leave a review if you have found any part of this at all to have an impact on your life. That will help others to find the show and listen to it and get the same type of enjoyment that you are out of it. Also, if you are a father and if you're looking for a place that you can go celebrate fatherhood or perhaps even share some struggles and get some advice or find some like-minded men, I strongly encourage you to stumble on over to Fatherhood for the Rest of Us, the private Facebook group, and ask to join. I'll let you right in. That's going to do it for right now, guys. And please stay tuned for today's podcast. Hey there, Fatherhood for the Rest of Us. I'm on today with Alexia Leachman. She overcame her fears to have 2 fear-free home births, and she now helps women to overcome their fears so that they approach their birth with confidence. Alexia has helped thousands of women worldwide to shed their fear and claim their positive birth experience through her private sessions, her online programs and products, and of course, her podcast. She is the author of Fearless Birthing, and her new book, Clear My Head Trash, is out in March 2018, which is right now. And Alexia appears regularly in the press, TV, radio, and online, including BBC, Sky, ABC, and has been featured in HuffPost, Mail Online, Psychology's, Red, Easy Living, and Mother and Baby magazines. And now, Fatherhood for the Rest of Us. Alexia, thanks for being here with us today. What can we help you celebrate today?
Well, the imminent launch of my book, actually, the one you just mentioned, which is out in March, I am still aiming for the March deadline. So, yeah, I've been working very hard in finalising the Clear Your Head Trash book, which comes only 3 months after the Fearless Birthing book. I just thought, hey, I'm on a roll while I can still remember how to self-publish and learn all the intricacies that are required. When it's fresh in my mind,
right? It does.
Let's get another one out. Yeah, it does. So, yeah, absolutely. So that's what I'm celebrating at the moment, is reaching this milestone that I set for myself. I said, can I do it in 3 months? And it appears that I just may have done the trick. So,
that's
yeah,
awesome.
Feeling really good about that.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you.
Congratulations. So, let's talk a little bit about, your actually, I don't know how where you're known most at, but let's talk Fearless Birthing a little bit. And, it appears that this is or was a thing that women are scared to give birth. Is that what I'm gathering? And that's kind of what you were up against too. And you've managed to create a service, right, to help women through this area of their lives.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize. I was never really a baby, kid, kind of maternal kind of person. So when I became pregnant, it really hit me like a shot, like a kick in the stomach. And I wasn't prepared for it. We weren't planning for it. It was just, I had to have the conversation with him to go, do we want this? We haven't even had the kids conversation, even though we'd been together for like nearly 10 years. And this was my fear of birth that I wasn't even aware of. It was so deep rooted within me that it made me just avoid all talk of kids. So when I miscarried and felt relief, I thought, whoa, there's a mother load of head trash going on right there.
Whoa, yeah, right.
And realized at that moment that I had some stuff I needed to sort out. But by then, we kind of decided that we did want kids. So suddenly I was going through that whole grief, loss, miscarriage situation.
Right.
Of a situation that we'd kind of come around to going, yes, we would like a baby, children, whatever. And then suddenly dealing with the loss, but then also thinking, that was a lucky escape, like relief on a boat on a massive level. So I was massively in conflict at that point, as I'm sure you can appreciate. And so I went on a 1-year bender of head trash clearance, basically. I just was clearing my head trash using the technique that I write about, that I use, that the Clear Your Head Trash book is all about, to really tackle all my underlying anxieties and stresses. I thought I really wasn't in a good place to be a parent. I was so stressful and anxious that I thought, if I'm going to be a mother, then I really need to sort this out, because otherwise whatever kids I have are going to be a mess. So I really took that that responsibility on in terms of thinking I really need to sort myself out first. And so a year later, when I was pregnant again, I was in a much better place, but I was still massively fearful. And one thing I didn't appreciate, which I do now that I work so much in this area, is that a fear of giving birth affects 35% of women. Like a poll was done like a couple of years ago.
Right.
35% of women have got a fear of giving birth. That's the thing they
pregnant. Just so you know, I'm afraid to give birth.
I'm sure you are.
That's 1 out of 1 males right there. I can't imagine. I really can't imagine the process. And the other part too that you're talking about there is, is there a fear? There's a trepidation of being a parent too.
Yeah.
That you're talking about. I can understand like that relief of being like dodging a bullet. You're like, all right, I really wasn't ready anyways, but then you also have this, you like you talk the head trash stuff. There's probably in your head, like you start to maybe feel like you're just unfit. Is this God's way of telling me that I'm not parent material? I'm guessing, right? Like, and you kind of got all this stuff happening, and that could be a messy space to be in. What are some of the, you're talking about the book that you got coming out. What are some of the stuff that you do use to clear your head trash? And like, what's your experience been working with other women looking like?
So when I clear head trash, I use the head trash clearance method, which is the technique that I share in the book and which I applied to birth. So when I was when I was fearful of birth, I didn't realize it at the time, but I had tocophobia, which is the most extreme fear of birth and pregnancy, which women with tocophobia will have abortions of babies they want. They are that fearful of giving birth. So I've worked with women who have had, one woman had 3 abortions, and this is of babies that they really both want them. They really want the kids. Others are thinking of separating from their husbands because they can't give them the baby they both want. And so that's the extreme end of the fear of birth. And that affects up to 10% of women. So, it's not even a rare thing. It's pretty common. And a lot of people decide to go down surrogacy or foster care or fostering because there's different ways for them to have a family. And so my experience of working with women is really ranges from those that are really wanting to prepare and just they're all excited and they just want to manage that and get ready and do everything right and almost go down the conscious parenting route, which is I just want to do everything I can while baby's inside, have nurturing positive feelings and emotions and do the best for baby and be really consciously approaching their pregnancy from the outset and wanting support in doing that. And then there's right at the other end of the spectrum, which is absolutely terrified, can't even have sex with their husband because they're so terrified of birth. And then helping them to get to a place where they're now really excited about having sex. And now, or they're not going to split up. So it's really at both ends of that spectrum. And so what I'm using with them is the head trash clearance method, which we worked on all of that. And that's why I wanted, when I wrote the book, Fearless Birthing, which is about applying that technique to the context of pregnancy and motherhood, I realized that actually there's a lot of people that can benefit from this that aren't within that area of life. And so that's why I wanted to bring the main book out so quickly, because I was just getting people go, well, I'm not pregnant, can I use this? And I was like, yes, you can use this on any fear, any anxiety, any head trash. So that's why I really wanted to follow up so quickly, so that other people, when I'm talking about this, I'm saying, well, actually, if you're not pregnant, if you're not a woman, you can buy this book instead, because the technique at the root of it is the same.
You've got a his and hers.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, a lot of my clients before I got into birth stuff were male business leaders. That's how I specialize.
Right. Yeah, I was going to hop to that. Right. Let's talk a little bit about your background and how you came to the Clear My Head Trash method. Right. So you did do coaching, like you're saying, to some high powered executives.
Yeah.
And it sounds to me like you're using some of that coaching methodology and really just applying it in a couple of different areas. Yeah.
So my background is in corporate. I was working in marketing and consumer marketing for 15 years. And then I quit to be a coach. So I was a personal brand coach, and then I moved on to leadership coaching. And then as I was working with a lot of, so my clients, I went through a period of having mainly male business owner clients who had founded and created their own businesses, and they had about 30 staff. So at one point I was just, and they were alpha male. It was quite all in the creative industry. So it's quite an interesting niche. And I think my background in marketing meant that, being in a creative industry, we had an understanding, let's put it that way. So, but my coaching with them was a blend of classic coaching, but then also head trash clearance, which is actually another word for therapy. But I never sold it as therapy. I always sold it as head trash clearance, because that's how it felt like. And so, and everybody's quite fine. When I used to say, "Hi, I clear head trash," everyone's like, "Oh, I've got that. Can you help me?" I was like, "Sure." Whereas if, I said a therapist, everyone goes, "Oh, they go really quiet." At least they do in this country. In the US, I think they're a little bit more open.
I mean, therapy's like, it's warmly embraced, but I don't think it's like a bedfellow. We'll say that.
Yeah. Whereas head trash is everyone can like own up to having that. We've all got that. We're all okay with owning up to it.
Yeah. And
we're all up for trying to clear it. And so when I decided that, when I came across the technique behind it, I was like, wow, it feels like this is clearing my head trash. And so I said, well, I offer head trash clearance. That's it. You have head trash and I take it away, and then that's it. You can just crack on with being happy, calm, confident, whatever it is that you want to be. So, so most of my clients were business leaders. And so, and then that's when it was that period of my time in my life that I became pregnant and realized I had these birth fears that suddenly came out of nowhere. I didn't know that I had pregnancy birth fears because I'd avoided pregnancy for so long. It was one of these things that was just lurking, and suddenly this was my life, and it's like, whoa. And so I took this technique that I was using and went, well, okay, well, I'm just going to use it on my fears. And so that's what I did. I just basically, ate my dog food, as it were. I just said, okay, well, I'm going to use this on me, and got amazing results. And what I didn't realize at the time was with tocophobia, which is what I had, if you Google it now and you see, what can you do for women with tocophobia? Most the advice out there will be, well, you just have to manage it and probably go for a C-section. There isn't any accepted cure, in inverted commas, for women that have that. Mm-hmm. So the fact that I was able to kind of self-treat myself in a couple of months when I was pregnant, at the time I didn't realize how awesome that was, what an achievement that was.
Sure.
But it's only when the words started getting out about what I'd done, and I was getting emails from people didn't know when I was breastfeeding my newborn. I was getting these emails from women going, how did you do that? And I was like, oh, hey, how do you know I did this? And why? How did you get my email address? Like, how is word spreading? What's going on here? And that's what prompted me to write the book, the fact that I was getting emails from women that wanted to know how I did it. So, it was really, So I'm wandering off on a tangent here, but it was really bringing that back to what my own experience was and applying that to myself. But a lot of that came from my experience of working as a coach and working with any number of different people with lots of life challenges. Right.
No, I think it's great when you're able to, a random set. You did it in another space that just kind of shows that kind of coaching works, not just in the business realm, not just like, I'm just trying to think of like all those places that you find, not just in sports, but like in your personal life, in real life situations, like having, getting through this fear and getting through that situation. I recently just kind of had a situation myself where like, all the stuff that's been coming out of my mouth, I'm like, oh, you should try this, do this. And then, if a situation presented itself and I was like, my God, I've been talking about this. I've been dying for this moment. Right. It was like, I think it was talking to your kids, like, being able to share your fears with your kids and all that stuff. And my son the other night, he goes, Dad, do you ever like have fears and you don't tell me about them? I'm like, this is it. Oh my God, I get to do this now. Right. Because, you get that opportunity to share that dialogue. And then immediately I was like, what about you? What are you afraid of? And so we got to have that opportunity, but like being able to eat your own dog food, see that it works, and then be like, I'm not just talking this shit anymore. Like I'm actually doing something about it, right? So I think that's pretty exciting, and I imagine that's kind of how you felt like when you realized that that's what you had done.
Yeah. And what's pretty awesome now is that now what I've done is because my background's business, because my background's marketing. And so when I learned this stuff, I was like, well, I'm very clear that I want to build a big business for myself. I don't want to build a thriving therapy practice. That's not what my goal is for myself. Right. And so it's like, well, I'm not going to just try to fill up my book with private clients. I want to make this easy and make this reach as many people as possible. So I want to put it into video format. I want to make it online. I want to make as many people access this as possible, turn it into really affordable stuff so that a lot of people everywhere could access it, because it is a new technique. I was one of the first people that trained in it, and then I've kind of adapted it to make it as DIY techniques. It's a proper therapy that you would go and see a therapist for and have two people, therapist and client, doing it. Whereas I've changed it to make it a DIY tool. So there's a lot of tinkering that I've done under the hood with it. And then I thought, well, it's selfish of me to keep this to myself, just to my one-to-one sessions. I need to make it easily disseminated, if you want for a better word. So yeah, I've turned it into online programs. I've turned it into meditations. I've got fear clearance meditations and all that kind of things to help women to really conquer their fears. And so now, like the last 3 tocophobia clients I've had, they have basically cleared their own tocophobia using my videos. I've not even been therapist with them.
That's amazing.
In less than 3 weeks.
Wow.
And I'm like, wow. And the accepted thinking at the moment is if you have tocophobia, you have to go and you just have to put up with it and have a C-section. And I'm managing to help these women get over it in 3 weeks. And they're doing it themselves. I'm just showing them how to do it. Yeah. So it's not like I'm this magic person and I'm a special snowflake. I'm just going, here's the method. And I'm just guiding them. I'm coaching them through the method. Like, okay, this is what's going on for you. Try this, do this. How's that go? It literally is a coaching process. So that feels so awesome, because it's like these women are like, it's saved their marriage. It's enabled them to have, to think about having kids, which has been completely outside of their scope of their thinking for like 20 years, Wow. So yeah, that feels like really important, worthwhile work that suddenly like when I think back to my coaching clients, the guys running their businesses, I'm like, sorry, and there's going to be a lot of guys listening, but I'm like, yeah, like the thing about helping women overcome these fears just feel like such an important and worthwhile thing to be working on. And people stressing about firing their staff suddenly just feels a bit like, well, you'll get over it, where's the family thing? Just feels like such a worthwhile aspect to focus on when you think about the birth experience. And I'm sure there's going to be many of your listeners who might be able to relate to this. When the birth experience doesn't go brilliantly, how that affects the family unit, how that affects the mother, how that affects her ability to bond with the kids, whether the father, what his experience was of the birth if it didn't go brilliantly, and how that hangs over as a family. Whereas if it's an amazing birth, again, what that helps to solidify you as a family unit, and you just start parenting on the right, on a strong footing. Right. When the breastfeeding goes well, and the little one sleeps through the night reasonably easily and eats okay, and whatever, it kind of, it's a challenging journey anyway. You don't want to be starting that journey with a dose of PTSD or postnatal depression. It's not beneficial. I always talk about the first 6 months being so difficult anyways. Once you get them home, and even if you're fully healthy and everything, your first 6 months with a newborn, your first experience ever, right? It's tough enough as it is. So again, I can't imagine really walking into pregnancy just being scared to begin with. And you're saying 35% of women are impacted by this, right? So 35 in a recent poll, 35% of women said this, that one of the things that really terrifies them most about moving into that stage of their life, which includes parenting and kids, it's 35% are thinking about the birth, and that's what they're scared of. So there's this huge barrier that's standing between them and parenting, that being parents, which is something they really want, that they can't escape. It's like this, you can't not go through the birth door if you want to have kids, unless you're going down the the surrogacy or fostering, which is that's a big decision. I mean, and expensive, and when you see that there are people everywhere that just seem to be popping kids out and they seem to do it so easily, and that can be quite isolating when it's like, well, why don't I feel that way? Why am I struggling with this? Right. Because there's this romantic view of birth, pregnancy, and everything everyone meant to enjoy their pregnancy, and they're glowing and they look gorgeous, and you don't see the suffering. But what you do hear is that birth was awful, I nearly died, it was horrific, and all these drama stories. So there's lots out there to support the idea that it's a terrifying experience and you have every right to be scared.
Sure. Yeah. No. I think absolutely.
And it's confusing. It's confusing to women, And I think guys, must be. They've got no idea. It's very difficult because they've got no idea what's going on here. They can't even comprehend. So, within the couple environment, it can be very difficult for her to feel like she's getting kind of support from somebody who gets it. Because
Yeah.
It's really hard. So
it is literally beyond comprehension for men. I mean, there is nothing we can do.
yeah.
And sometimes that can be frustrating too. Don't get me wrong. We want to be supportive and we want to do whatever we can. We are quite literally incapable.
Yeah.
And sorry. And so let's also kind of wrap a little bit more in about like, so the fearless birthing and what you're doing is amazing work. I think that's awesome. And it can't do anything except for feel like it's a powerful thing that you're doing, because I mean, even in coaching alone, when you're getting somebody to kind of step into who they're meant to be, there's an amazing feeling. So when you meet somebody who wants to be a parent, who really wants to give all their love and attention and dote on the next generation, then helping them get there has got to feel amazing.
Yeah, no, it's magical. And when I get the emails when the little babies arrive and I get the photos and the birth stories, and I'm like, there's so many of my emails that make me cry like a baby at the emails I get coming in my inbox, because it is just magic, that just knowing that they've gone on that journey and they're having something that they never thought they'd be able to have. And it was amazing, that it was an amazing experience for them that they will treasure. Because, a birth experience for a woman is one that's going to stay with her till she dies. It's not one of those that she's going to forget. It's going to be marked. And so to give her that gift that she's going to be able to carry around this real magical moment I just feel honored. I know if I got hit by a bus tomorrow, my work here is done.
You've made a true contribution. So that's amazing. With some of the, head trash, taking some of that out, what are like one or two methods that you might be able to share with the audience that's being applied in the fearless childbirthing and can be applied in other spaces?
So there's one of the little precursors to the method, which I think is a really good one. It's really about flipping your thinking and reframing your thinkings. And I invite a lot of my clients to do this. And I mention it quite a bit on both my podcasts, I think. And that is it's basically thinking. So if you think about, there's something that you really hate, that you're scared of. So in the context of, is there something that you're really scared of that you hate that you might want to just share with us, so I can use as an example? Right. Oh, he looks terrified. I can give an example if that's too tricky for you.
I wanted to hate the air fryer that we got today. How about that? I mean,
the air fryer, you'll have to translate that into English.
It's like literally. Well, we could talk about other things I wanted to hate. I've been talking about things I want to hate all the time. iPhones, I hate that. I don't know if that qualifies.
Are you fearful of your iPhone?
No, not necessarily. We can do am I fearful? I'm not fearful of this Facebook and Google stuff, but let's just pretend like I am. I'm fearful that everybody's got my data.
Yeah, well, no, I think you have every right to be fearful. That's a complete and least
They got me. I mean, what am I going to do now?
No, I know.
Go ahead. So I'm terrified that Google knows everywhere I've been.
Yeah. So for example, in this situation, then it's about flipping it. So at the moment, you hate the fact that Google know where you've been, and therefore you don't like using things like Google and iPhones. So what are the good reasons why Google why Google know everything about you? And I was thinking about this in the shower. Actually, there are some good reasons here. Could you think of any good reasons why it's good?
As a matter of fact, I can. There was an incident probably about a year ago where I actually realized that Google was tracking everywhere that I went, and somebody was trying to tell me hey, I didn't do this, I didn't say this, you weren't here, there, and there. I was like, you're wrong. I was here at these times, dates that specified. So. Comes in handy, or if I want to remember where I've been and I can't, then I can go and I can go look. I love that. I can know where my pictures were taken. I don't care. If the picture information is loaded in there, that tells me where I took pictures. It gives me a map. It gives me a storyboard of a weekend. It's fun.
Yeah. No, I know. And I don't want this to go into a whole privacy conversation, but the minute you start thinking about the positives about something that you hate, you start to see a bigger picture, and you start to understand a little bit more context around it. And therefore you don't feel so polarized at one end.
Right.
And you can see two sides of it, which enables you to kind of dance around the issue a little bit more flexibly and easily.
Okay.
So let me bring it back to something that might be a little bit less Yeah, because privacy is an interesting one. So like one thing I use it a lot for the women that I help is pain. They're really fearful of pain. And so obviously a lot of people don't like pain. Do you like pain?
Not a big fan.
Not a big fan. No, exactly. Whereas, so a lot of people don't like pain, so they hate it, and therefore they fear it. So if you know you're going to, like, birth is going to be painful. Oh my God. Well, in that case, I don't want to go near it. Well, what are the good aspects of pain? What could you love about pain? Well, if you can experience pain, it means that you're alive for a start.
Right.
B, your body's functioning correctly, and it's giving you a signal that something needs attention. Well, now I know something needs attention. I can focus on it. I can call somebody. I can let someone know. So there are some positive aspects to pain, and the minute you start to sort of make friends with pain in this way, make friends with the things that you don't like, then you can start seeing the other side and start to appreciate, oh, well, actually, if you think about pain in the context of running or marathon running, do you think that people who are marathon runners fear the pain they experience at 19 miles? Probably don't. They probably frame that pain as, oh my God, yes, I'm doing really, really well. I'm pushing on through, my muscles are, and they're framing that in a really positive way. They're not labeling that pain as negative. So when you make friends with it, you can start looking at it in a much more empowering, helpful way rather than in a destructive, limiting way. And
Right.
so, it's all about, so whatever it is that you hate, come up with 30 reasons why you love the thing you hate. That's
30 reasons.
30 reasons. And the reason I say 30 is because you will probably struggle after 5. Some people struggle with 2. When their thinking is so rigid, they can't even, they're like, oh, I can't do this. And they abandon all hope of the exercise. And that shows that they've really got work to do. Whereas if you start moving, you manage to get to 10, then it's 15, then you've got to start getting really creative. And it's this creative thinking and coming up with new ideas and new thinking pathways that really starts to pave the way for some new thoughts to happen in your head. And the minute you start getting creative, you might start getting a bit silly with it as well. And this silliness and the humor around this thing that you hate is also incredibly powerful. So the minute you can start laughing at something that you hate, you're more likely to make friends with it, and therefore it drops. A lot of stuff collapses in you when you start laughing at it and feeling a lot more comfortable around it. And you can do that by joking about it. So that exercise is quite powerful in lots of ways, actually. And I know a lot of women that have shifted their fear of pain just by doing that exercise alone, which is staggering because a fear of pain when it comes to birth is pretty monumental for a lot of women. So that can be used for anything.
I love it. Absolutely. Do you have one more you want to share?
Well, another one. It's mainly no, I haven't, because the other one is basically the technique, which we don't have time for me to go through that. It's a very quick one, but we don't have time to go through it.
We'll take that. That's very powerful. Absolutely. I love how you don't just say reframe it just kind of one way, but go ahead and give it the 30 ways. And then, well, actually, you take it a step further, because then let's say pain. Let's stick with the pain example, because I'm not sure what the opposite to privacy is. The opposite of pain would be, what would you say is the opposite of pain? Euphoria.
Yeah, pleasure, euphoria, So then you go, okay, so give me 30 reasons why euphoria is a bad thing.
Well, now, why would you take that away?
Why do you do that? Well, it's all about balance and opposites, and it's all about really seeing different perspectives. So if you think about pleasure and euphoria, why is that a bad thing? Well, people chase pleasure. They do silly things for pleasure. They might take a ridiculous amount of drugs to seek the euphoric hit.
That's crazy.
What does that do to somebody's life?
Right.
So, this obsession with pleasure does also have very damaging aspects to it. And so at the moment, a lot of people just see the positive side of pleasure and euphoria. They think, well, it's a good thing. Well, maybe there are bad points to it as well that we're just not really opening ourselves to. And we need to acknowledge the positive and the negative in everything, because nothing is intrinsically good or bad. Everything has a good and a bad aspect, but sometimes we just shut ourselves off to one side. So this exercise really helps you to see all sides, and that really expands your thinking and allows you to have more freedom, choice, and flexibility. So there's a lot of power in these exercises if you really do them. And they're so simple, actually, really simple.
Yeah, no, I love it. Find somebody and use it on them.
Yeah, do it and tell me how you get on.
Outside of myself, now that I'm having bad thoughts about pleasure and euphoria, so usually right around here, we'll be in the middle of where we're at before we flip it over to fatherhood. Where would, where should I send people right now to kind of go find out more about fearless birthing and to clear my head trash? Is it all going to be found in one spot?
Two websites. There's fearfreechildbirth.com, where you can find the Fearfree Childbirth podcast and all the online stuff around the Fearless Birthing Academy. So it all starts at the Fearfree Childbirth website. Fearless Birthing on Amazon, so you can just check that out and get the book. It comes with a load of online stuff that you get when you buy the book. And then clearmyheadtrash.com, which is the new website to go with the book, Clear My Head Trash. So yeah, that's where you can find that, clearmyheadtrash.com.
Quick question. Do you ever find any women who have already given childbirth, who have already been through the experience, who develop
Yes.
Yeah.
Tocophobia.
This would be, if somebody who's a father or a parent who's already listening to this podcast, and maybe having a situation come up with having their second or third child. And so this is something it's not uncommon. It is something that you've seen before.
It's very common. So in tocophobia, there's what's known as primary tocophobia and secondary tocophobia. Primary tocophobia is for women that haven't had a childbirth experience, and secondary tocophobia is for those that have had a childbirth experience. So it might have been a traumatic birth, difficult birth, even things like abortions and miscarriages might fall into that category as well. So so anything that's traumatic, that's childbirth related, if they've had an experience like that, then that can lead to secondary tocophobia. And so there's a lot of women that have got, and I've got a theory as well, I think that men have it too. It's not even it's hardly talked about for women. So I'm being really out there by saying I think men could have it too. But I think if a man has been in a very difficult birth experience, seen his wife go through a very difficult experience, and he's come out with maybe some PTSD or some trauma, then there are some men that really struggle to get, if let's say they've been remarried, or the next baby comes along and they just can't go into that birth space. They just don't want to be there when she's giving birth because it's too much for them. Right. So there's definitely, the work that I do can definitely help people like that. And I'm training therapists, birth therapists and doulas in the technique that I've got, so that it can reach more people that need that one-to-one support, in person, as opposed to sort of via online and Skype and stuff.
No, that's fantastic.
So so because there are people that have those situations that really do need that level of support to just get through it and to be happy again, let go of that.
We have the ability to do a lot of stuff online through computers, pamphlets, papers, books, and everything. But sometimes nothing beats a real human and being there with them. So, if you can do it online, that's fantastic. But, I don't think anybody should beat themselves up if they can't do it by themselves online, because, we're humans, and it still makes sense to be in the same room with them.
Absolutely.
From time to time. And I brought up that, I brought that up though, because, I wouldn't want somebody listening to be experiencing something they thought was overly uncommon and didn't think that there was help for it. So it sounds like there's help and hope for somebody who has found themselves in that situation.
There is, there's a lot of it. And I know a lot of people that support people in that way. So, I've got a Facebook group, the Fearfree Childbirth Facebook group, so people can come and find me on Facebook. And I've got loads of brilliant birth professionals in that group as well that are really happy to help. So, and we've got guys in there as well. It's not just the women in there. So happy to send people over if they want me to point them in the right direction. Happy to help.
Fantastic. No, thank you for that. Okay, let's flip it over into fatherhood. And
hey there, Fatherhood for the rest of us. We are interrupting you briefly here to let you know that this podcast is brought to you in part by Funnel Ignition. You may have heard of Funnel Ignition when I had my guest Alex Guion on earlier this year. He came from Peru, was stranded on an island, and basically left to die on an island as he came to the United States of America. His story is one of just taking action, putting the time in, and creating a quality product. Alex has been creating funnels now for years, and how does that kind of tie in and dovetail with fatherhood? Well, look, guys, we all are trying to make a change and difference in the world, and one of the ways that we do that is by getting people over to our sites and getting them to buy from us, help us with our marketing, and really understand what it is we're trying to put out there. Alex is going to be able to help you to do that. He's going to help you to target traffic. He's going to help you to create your funnel, help you with lead optimization. Alex has worked with such companies as TechCrunch, All Things, Fortune, and VentureBeat. You want to make sure that what you're presenting is your best. And sometimes, look, not for nothing, I know that my sites could use some help.
and I'm not a web expert. And so my expertise lies in doing coaching and fatherhood mindset. His focus is on funnels. So reach out to Alex, Funnel Ignition. Let him know that you heard about funnels, his funnels from Fatherhood from the Rest of Us. Now back to our program. What would you say is like the purpose of fatherhood?
Oh, that's such a great question. And I think the first word that comes to me is to inspire and to model and to lead. Because I think that's what, when I just see my kids with their dad, and also when I think of my own experience, my parents divorced when I was 4. So I didn't really have a dad after 4. He wasn't around. And I really, how that's affected me, not having an absent father in that sense. And so when I see my other half with the kids and how he's there for them and it's just so gorgeous, just seeing how guys can just inspire and, the impact they can have on kids is just phenomenal. It's just such an incredible gift. Well, parenting is, but guys especially have got such a role to play that those that are really stepping up, it's brilliant. So to inspire is the main word that comes to me, really.
I love that. Yeah. So what happened with your parents? I'm sorry, I missed.
My parents divorced when I was about 4. So after the age of 4, it was just I was just living with my mum. My dad had left the home. So there wasn't, for me, I didn't really have a father figure. So in that sense, and that really seriously messed me up. I think I really, really paid the price for that.
What would you say would be like the most noticeable, just for me, for example, being a male without a father figure growing up myself made it really difficult for me to like converse with men like as I got older. So it's just simply because I wasn't exposed to a lot of guys and men growing up. So what would you say was something that was noticeable as you were older or even growing up as it relates to not having a father?
Well, Mike, I kind of stepped in, not into the father role because that was ridiculous. There's 4 years between me and my brother. But because there wasn't a guy there, then my mum turned to me as her friend, partner, if for want of a better word. So I kind of stepped up emotionally to being not head of the house. I wasn't that, but I was taking responsibility way too early. But she was turning to me for decisions on the car to buy, on what colour we're going to paint the lounge and where we're going to go on holiday. When I'm 8 or 9, whatever, not like I wasn't a fully fledged adult. So I was kind of making decisions and being turned to to help with decisions. And she just needed that help. She was on her own. So that was just where we were. But so that made me a lot more headstrong, a lot more, and I think I picked up male energy as a result of that. And I think that's why I've always gravitated towards being in male environments, because I find some women are just like, I just can't be bothered with all that kind of girly nonsense. It really kind of does my head in.
I think it's interesting to see the variance of impact though, right? Like you're steered towards men. And I'm like just kind of the opposite, right? And like I grew up with like my mom and my sister. My sister was 6 years older than me, and what I'm also hearing though too is like, so you're talking, making these decisions. And when my mom would ask me, we moved to different places, go to different places too. I would look at it as I guess on a peer level, as she respected me enough to ask me kind of where we would go and what we would do. I kind of always appreciated that. And maybe that was just me kind of embracing my guy energy stuff and just being like, that's cool that you would ask me that. So it's just interesting to hear the difference in.
Well, I did as well. But I lost my mum very suddenly when I was 30 and that really spun me out. And so there's something that really affected me. And so, I learned, because I went down the rabbit hole and needed a load of help to help me back into a sort of a good place again. And as part of that kind of journey of really figuring out where my life fell apart, the loss of losing her, one thing that came out was the fact that we were so close, the fact that she treated me like a peer, the fact that she treated me like a partner,
right,
was that, so that the place in my heart was actually, where there's space in your heart for your mother and your father, she took up more space than just the mother spot, and she expanded it to be the other half spot, the spouse spot.
Sure.
Or and so when she died, I literally lost a huge part of me with her, rather than just a little bit that was dedicated to mother love. There was a whole boatload of space that had gone on, so I really lost a whole part of me when she died, which caused me to lose a whole sense of who I was. And
it can't be easy to lose your parent at an early age like that. Right?
Yeah. It was very quick. So it was very traumatic in that sense. She died from cancer, and it was within 6 weeks of us finding out. So it was very brutal in that sense. So, there's a lot of things going on there, but one of the main things that really affected me was the fact that she treated me like a peer, and how that affected me when she went. So, but I wouldn't change any of this for the world, because it's made me who I am. And if it wasn't for that huge episode of my life falling down a sinkhole, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. It's all made me who I am. So I wouldn't.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's just interesting when you do start unraveling it and understanding. And it really does kind of, the minute you become a parent, you just become so mindful of, your responsibility.
It all kind of comes crashing down. It all kind of comes crashing down. And, I've been heard to say, like, when your parents were talking to you while you were growing up, they probably gave you all kinds of like drops and drips of wisdom, 30 years ago, and you're like, get the, why are you talking to me like this? I don't even understand. And 30 years later, when you do have your own children, you're like, that's what they were talking about.
Yeah.
It all just kind of comes crashing back in. You're like, oh my God, I'm sorry. Right. And that kind of thing. Or like, I get it. I finally get it. So it's definitely interesting when that all kind of comes back together. So what is something, that your husband does that your children like really love, that you see him doing it as a father, that like you use the word inspiration? What is it, something that he's doing that's inspiring?
I love, because we're both from a business background, and we're both used to managing big teams, and I think we've borrowed a lot from management style and how to like motivate and manage a team, and bringing that into our parenting, which I don't, they're very different environments, but actually there's a lot to borrow from that. And so he's just deploying really great it sounds terrible, but management techniques, which is about really speaking, really showing that you care, really listening, and really getting down on their level.
Sure.
And giving them the attention and rewarding good behavior, and just being, I don't know, just sort of, rather than being, I don't know, it's really difficult to say. It's really difficult. But so what I'm observing is, spending loads of time playing with them, just listening to them, allowing them to kind of explore these ideas, the creative ideas, and not kind of put any of them down or tell them to stop saying that because it's silly. Just allowing that to kind of really unfold and to join in the silliness and get down to their level, and to be silly with them. I think just letting go of how you should be and just being a kid again, and allowing the kid in you to come out.
Yeah, no,
I think is brilliant.
I love it. Now, I do my best with that, but sometimes they still make me crazy. Right?
Oh, they do make you crazy. I know.
Once in a while, right? What's the last time they made you crazy? Like, I mean, it's probably like for me, like the most recent thing for me is probably like my oldest son snaps his thumbs everywhere he goes, and it's like it's like he's got castanets, man. He's like like this, and I love it. And I try to I try to say something like, buddy, I really love how you're snapping. Or if I hear him singing, I'm like, buddy, I really love how you're singing. And I love your singing. Could you just go to your room and shut the door and do it again? Right? I'm trying to encourage it, but I'm also trying to just like focus on something else. It's not that I don't love what they're doing, and it's not that I'm not trying to be anyways, that's my recent experience.
Well, there's a singing one. I have got a singing one, but actually the one that really drives me mad. So I've got 2 daughters, 7 and 3, and they are obsessed with cars. So they are, both of them. They're just constantly shouting out Mazda, Mini, Volkswagen, Mercedes. Like, they're spotting out car models everywhere. Now, I don't mind, when we're driving along and they go, Maserati, we don't see many Maseratis. So call that one out. That's a really good one to call out. But don't call out a Ford. I mean, I don't know about you, but in the UK, they're on every street corner. Like, there's 4 of them on every street. And Mazdas, they're everywhere. Minis, they're everywhere. Like, I don't want to hear. It's like going trees are everywhere. Don't call out the trees. just call out the Bugattis and the Maseratis and the Ferraris. That's the one we're interested
chart,
in.
right? Like, here are the ones you can call out right here.
Yeah.
Here are the ones. Here's the list. These are no. Right?
So yeah, I caught myself saying to her, look, will you stop going on about these cars? I thought, no, because, like the 3-year-old she knows the car model. She'll go, maybe that's an Audi A3. And like, she's 3. Like, what is she calling out Audi A3s? Maybe, I don't know if you have them in the US, but so I don't want to but it is highly irritating when we're in the car and that's all we're hearing.
Right. And again, it's like, so you sit there, and it's like we say, right? You want to praise them for everything they're doing. You don't want to discourage them from being creative. You want them to embrace and be excited about every car and if they tree, cow, bird, right? Like, everything's exciting, everything's fresh and new. And you're like, oh, blah. But you want them to have that, but at the same time, it can make you nutty.
Yeah, but it goes so quick. Like, the time.
Right.
And so it's fine, actually. I just think now that even now walking to school, the 7-year-old less interested in holding my hand, less, 3-year-old still there, loves the holding hand thing. And I'm like, yeah, it just goes so quick. So, just.
We said that last night. I said it last night. The kids were outside finally, they're 5 and 8, coming up on 6 and 8. And they're finally this spring, they're outside playing by themselves and they're just running around and having fun. And it's quiet in the house. And I'm like, and we don't have to go out and check on them. I'm like, I'm a little upset. That they're already out there, and honestly, they're out there. And I'm like, I told my wife, I said, man, I'm just a little upset. There they are. They're out there. They don't need us right now, and this is a little upsetting. So
yeah,
it does go by so quickly. You're an author. You've done all this coaching. I'm sure you've got tons of books that you're into. What is one that you think has impacted your parenting style the most?
Oh, the one that's impacted. Well, I'll tell you what, I've not read many books on parenting, but the one that really impacted me is probably 2. I've read 2. They're the only ones that have impacted me because there are only 2. The first one is The Baby Whisperer by Tracy Hogg. And I read that. My sister-in-law gave it to me when baby number 1 came along. And there's one thing that really stood out for me in that book, and that is the way that she encourages new parents to, like she says, when you come home from the hospital, if you have a hospital birth, is to, talk to take your baby around the house and talk to it like it's a person.
Right.
And always talk to the baby as it's an equal. Never put on a silly voice. Always assume intelligence, assume consciousness, and assume equality, as opposed to this kind of, there we go, baby, there we go. Oh, aren't you a pretty little baby? None of that nonsense.
Right.
Just talk to it like a person.
Sure.
And I really kind of took that idea and ran with it and really resonated with that. And I've read a lot of research around that now that kind of supports that idea massively. So that really had a big impact on me. And then I read, because I'm half French, so I read a book on about French parenting, and I can't remember the exact title now, but it's got Bibi in the title. An American who lived in Paris who was commenting on the differences between French and American parenting styles. And what was really interesting for me is, I was raised in Wales, which is stuck to England here in the UK. Okay. But I went to France for all my holidays, and my family were in France. So there's a lot of French, and we spoke French in the home. So I'm bilingual. So there was clearly a lot of French culture going on in my life. But in my mind, I grew up in the UK. And my mother's died. I've become a mother, and I'm a mother without a mother. So I haven't got anybody helping me in my own mothering. I've got nobody to turn to, nobody to help me, nobody to ring in the middle of the night or whatever to go, what do I do with this? I'm literally making it up as I go along. So I didn't really think that I was doing the French mothering thing. But when I read this book, I was like, whoa, I am a French mother. I am doing this the French way. What's
a French mothering thing?
Well, okay. So for example, food. So feeding kids, just basically giving them what you eat, and not putting up with any nonsense about them not liking it, or like giving them stuff that they go, I only want the chips and the finger, the kiddie food. Like none of that. No snacking.
Right.
I don't know. There's a bit more of strictness is not the right word. Maybe discipline and not pandering to kids. Like they're the ones that are in control. It's like, no, we're in control. You're just the kid here.
Right.
I say, this is how it goes. If you don't like it, lump it. Whereas I think in other cultures, it's, oh, but little Johnny wants to do X, Y, Z, and I must let him do what he wants. No, you're the parent. You say what goes. They've just got to go with the flow.
Right.
So it's this kind of letting, tail wagging dog potentially is what goes on in maybe other parenting cultures.
Okay.
I'm not very well spoken on this. This is not my area of expertise, so I don't really want to sort of expand too much on it. But yeah, when I read a lot of that book, I was like, wow, that's what I do. Yes, that's what I do. And it really was quite, I was like, it was a really good eye-opener for me. That and I'm pleased that, you read so much about how French kids eat everything on their plate, and I'm like, actually my kids are doing that. I don't have any problem with food and with them, and it's worked out all right. So I'm quite happy with that kind of subliminal cultural stuff that was put in.
Nice.
It's obviously come through as a kid. I've just it's been within me the whole time, which is kind of interesting.
Sure.
I haven't consciously gone out to learn it, or I haven't had my mother telling me about it now. It literally has just been within me, which is kind of an interesting idea, actually, even though I'm in this culture I'm not living in France right now. So that's kind of weird, but hey.
We'll let it slide. We won't call anybody and won't let them know. Tell people what you've done. I'm trying to think of what would you like to thank your children for, and why? Say 10 years goes by.
Well, I've dedicated my book to them, actually, because for me, it was their arrival that forced me to confront my fears and to deal with my stuff.
Yeah.
And they taught me so much before they even drew a breath. So I'm grateful for both of them, for teaching me, for guiding me on this journey, for choosing me to be the mother, and for that, because actually they taught me so much before they even arrived.
Wow.
And for that, I'm eternally grateful. And they continue to teach me every day, So, but that is, I think they made me, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Without them, I wouldn't be me today.
Absolutely. Yeah, no,
and
I couldn't
wonderful.
agree. I couldn't agree more. Like, and that's kind of when we were talking earlier, when you've got the ability to help another mother or a father through into parenthood, which they may have pushed up against or away from for so long. That come on now, I thought I turned up. There we go. Which getting them past that point and into parenthood, and then them becoming kind of who they were meant to be. Like you're saying, that your children have gotten you to be who you are today. It's kind of I think that's really powerful, right?
Yeah.
Not only, I think first, being a parent is just a powerful thing. And, if you're doing it consciously, if you're taking it and doing it purposely and intentionally, you become, so much more of who you really wanted to be. Right. And so again, I'm just going to give you kudos again for helping those people get there. That's amazing, because it's an amazing experience.
Yeah, sure is.
I never thought it was going to happen to me, and here it is. It happened. I don't have any real logic to why it wouldn't happen. But is there anything about parenting or anything you kind of want to close with? Anything that we didn't touch on today that you want to share?
Anything that we haven't? We've talked about so much, Brendan. What else do I really want to say? I don't think there is anything that really. No, there's nothing else I want to say other than that. The only thing I want to say actually is, when as parents we worry that we're going to give our kids a boatload of nonsense that they're going to have to deal with in therapy when they're older. And a lot of us probably are dealing with stuff that we had from our parents that would, like, we've talked about today, like the fact that parents are being absent or whatever it is, or decisions, or the way they might, encourage you or not encourage you. And the one thing that I feel is, I lost my mum really young, and I was speaking to somebody recently who was, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do X, Y, Z because the kids are it's going to be difficult for the kids. It's going they want to do the best. They want to wrap their kids in cotton wool. They want to make sure the family's got loads of money. They want to make sure they buy the kids a car. They want to all this stuff.
Right.
It's like, but is that always going to be the right thing for that child?
Right.
And when I think about losing my mum in the way that I did, that was one of the best things that happened to me in a really weird way. It enabled me to become me.
Right.
And some of the hardship and the stuff that you might experience as a result of parents struggling can make you you. Those kids that have it easy, that never know a challenge, that never know difficulty, that see gorgeously happily married parents with enough money to do whatever they want and go on all the holiday. There's nothing there that's ever pushed, like making them become more them.
Sure.
And so it's just a message to the parents that if you are struggling, if you can't give the kids the things that you want, you know what, that's absolutely okay, because that might be the gift in itself, that
Sure.
you're helping them to find themselves, because you can't give a better gift than that. A car at 18 is not a gift. Help teaching them resilience, teaching them to pick themselves up after another crappy day. That is a gift.
That's a great message. Absolutely.
So yeah, so just don't be hard on yourselves, know that whatever you're going through, you'll just do it with grace so that they learn from how you're dealing with it, because that's going to be the best gift you can give them. So yeah, that's my parting word.
Perfect. One more time, where should we send people to reach you?
clearmyheadtrash.com or fearfreechildbirth.com.
Alexa, I want to say thanks again for popping on today. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on. It's been brilliant.